Okay.
The countdown. Good day, family. Wherever you are tuning in, you're watching and listening to another exciting episode of Senior Talk with Clara Hubbard, your resource and information show for people getting better with age. Well, let me tell you, today I am so excited because one of our longtime supporters of Senior Talk is joining me, our friends from Bethel, Terrace, right there in the beautiful city of Inglewood. I call Inglewood a city in itself in the city of Chicago. We know people are listening to us nationwide. But let me tell you, I had to bring Miss Carolyn Stewart on. Let me tell you, first of all, she's super cute. She's personable. She is boots on the ground. I keep using that term, but there's very few people that you can use that term with. We are living through a pandemic, and I greet you in the spirit of Senior Votes Matter, which is the banner behind me, my mask. And let me say, I'm excited because her property was the kickoff to our launch of Senior Votes Matter. We came out and we were COVID protected 100%. We had sponsors, we had music, we had food, but we kept it safe. And I think that's the last time I got together in that type of capacity, to be honest with you. But I will say what was important is this. Her community at large, they followed the rules. Hello? But before we go any further, I'm not going to take up any more of her time. I'm going to let her introduce herself, Carolyn Stewart. She is my sister. She is my friend. And she is the property manager of Bethel and Sangamon Terrace right there at 900 West Parkway in Chicago. And I call the city community Inglewood a city in itself. So welcome to Senior Talk. How are you this beautiful day?
I'm doing well, Clara, and thank you for having me on.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. So let's go back before COVID. Let's go back to all the experiences that we had. Let me tell you, Senior Talk with Clara Hubbard. Everyone sees me on this radio or TV broadcast, YouTube, you name it. But we had fun. This time last year, we were already getting ready for plays and movies at the theater. We did outdoor events. I've had multiple. I mean, that's like her property at 900 West 63rd Parkway is one of my signature spots. I always consider I had my 8th anniversary celebration there or the 7th, one of the two. I've had Independence Day parties. I mean, we had town hall rallies, you name it. We did it all. And Bethel Sangamon Terrace was the first, i.e. first, to jump on board and say, yes, Clara, we will receive you. So I'm very happy to have you today. So let's go back to prior to COVID. We're January, February, New Year, big plan for the whole year.
Exactly. Yes.
Tell us what was happening, and then we dive into this, and then we just want to learn more about your community because I keep saying your community, they held it together. So tell us about this experience prior to COVID, and now that we're here, we're almost quote unquote a year in. To be honest with you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
We have 2 buildings. One is Sangamon Terrace, one is Bethel Terrace. Bethel Terrace has been around for a while. This is like our 39th year. Sangamon Terrace is now 5 years old, actually, this month, November.
Oh, perfect.
It was built from the ground up. You remember you were at the groundbreaking.
Yes, ma'am.
We service seniors, normally people who are 62 or older. But if you are under 62 and you have a disability, you also are welcome in our community. So prior to March, when we all found out about the pandemic, we have a very active group. I have 147 apartments with roughly about 152 people. We have some married couples. And We are active. We have our own bus. We have a community room that is large enough to accommodate up to 150 people. So when we have events, we can have all of the residents. We can invite family members. We can invite community sponsors like Clara Hubbard and Senior Talk. So we plan out for the year. And every month we have events. The residents have personal events. They have movie nights. They have bingo nights. We play cards night. Um, and so, of course, once the pandemic started, we had to cancel all those things. We also, in the past, have rented out our community room or donated the space for community events. So Clara was speaking about our Get Out the Vote event that we held outside in our garden this year due to the pandemic. Well, in prior years, it had been held in the community room where we brought in candidates to speak directly to the residents. And so we haven't been able to do any of those types of things due to the pandemic. Our common areas are closed down. With the exception of the laundry room. And then we limit the number of people that can go in at a time. We clean up after they're in there. There's sanitizing stations for them to clean themselves, as well as we wipe down the machines and all those things that we are all doing. When the pandemic started, one of the first things our management company did was send out a notice. Look, this is what's going on. And these are kind of the guidelines for all of us so that we can be safe. So, of course, the first thing they told everyone was, let's wear these masks. And some people were initially resistant to that. I mean, they're uncomfortable. They make your glasses fog if you wear glasses. I just don't have any. I mean, there were all of those things. And so you have to take into account how to persuade both your residents and then, of course, also staff to do those things. So we put everything in writing here. So there were letters that went out that kind of explained what we knew and, what the city guidelines were and then what the state guidelines were. So in our properties, we all wear masks. Anytime you are outside of your apartment is considered the common areas. It's the same thing for my staff. If they are outside of their office, if they have an office, then it's common areas. So you will never catch one of us without our mask on. We provide masks for visitors. We have signs up on the door that says, you can't come in this building if you don't have a mask.
Right.
But if someone comes to the door and they're not aware, I don't know where they've been all this time, but they're not aware.
Right.
All of us, all staff have masks at their desk. The security desk that you have to stop at has boxes of masks. So if someone comes in, we say, do you have a mask? We require them in the building. If they say no, then we give them one. We smile and say, would you please put it on? I have to say, for the most part, that our residents have been very cooperative with us. We do it not punitively, but it's more of a educational opportunity. You want to be safe and not contract the virus. My staff wants to be safe and not contract it. You don't want to take the virus home to your family. And so for the most part, they've been really good about it. And to that end, we've had no reported cases. And that is not the case in a lot of properties, particularly with the clientele we have. They are those people who are those vulnerable populations with underlying medical conditions that, should they catch it, may end up being one of those people in the hospital on a ventilator. So we have been extremely, extremely lucky.
Yes.
And even prior to the pandemic, because of the population we have, my staff always did wellness checks. A relative can call our office, any of the staff they can reach, including the security desk, and say, I've been trying to reach my mom all day.
Mm-hmm.
Will you do a wellness check? No one needs permission. We just do the wellness check. Someone will go up, knock on the door. If they don't answer, we use our pass key, announce ourselves, and check.
Yes, ma'am.
There is a new Chicago ordinance as of August 1st that requires buildings that have seniors and or people with disabilities to do checks at least twice a week. So we are now doing that, and there's also a log you have to keep and records, which is not a bad thing.
Yeah. Let me say this. I had Bishop Shirley Coleman on last week, and we said, and I'm going to definitely put you on this task force with me in my head. That's something that has been going on. The well-being checks have been not as attended to or not as frequent. And I've seen some communities that I will say, if you are in a resident facility, at least at a minimum, you can make a call.
Right.
I've seen people who pull out the whole roster. I'll take 10 names, you take 10 on each floor. I mean, it can be done. And so when I have people call my office and Claire, nobody been here since March. Oh, it ain't election time. We ain't seen the alderman. I'm thinking,
right.
So this does happen. So the well-being checks, let me be clear. We're going to find a way. I talked to Bishop Shirley Coleman last week. I know her daughter Stephanie is boots on the ground in the community over there in the 16th Ward of Chicago. And there are many others. Let me be just clear. I'm just bringing up those that come to my head at the time. But the well-being checks is a no-brainer. I think with all the Illinois service coordinators and everyone across this country, I am going to use my voice. Have you called and checked on a senior today? It takes minimal time. A lot of them do have landlines or cell phones or text. Find some way to communicate. Post it on Senior Talk. We need to make sure our beloved, as we call them, our people getting better with age, their needs are met. We cannot negotiate this. This is something that must happen. And I must commend, let me say, when I had my event in August, there was guidelines in place. We put it out, your senior community, my people, they came down at the appropriate time. Some brought their lawn chairs, but everybody had on a mask. Big shout out and thank you again to the NAACP Chicago Southside who gave us those masks, to G&B Catering who had the box lunches sealed and wrapped and glad. I mean, it was just done right. And of course, to our sponsors, Assistant Hands, Home Care, as well as Mr. Gray's Way Inc., Mr. Joe Gray. They came through. Everyone did it right. The weather was beautiful. And of course, WOSD Radio, Chicago veteran DJ Al Greer. We had fun. We got it in 2 hours. That was my time limit. We got in, we got out, but everyone did it in a sense that everyone was protected. And we had no accidents. So we did well. We did well. Now, did we want the music to stay longer? Absolutely.
Yes, of course.
Got that door, and I said, one man had his own chest pushed back. I said, I am not mad at him. But that is the strength of what you said about your residents. Because I think, to me, and I don't have any stats right now, but I can almost tell you the older Americans are doing better than our younger generation.
Yes, I would agree with that.
I mean, I've seen people and I'm like, you got to be kidding. And they're gathering still. And there's so many things on TV and media that you can see younger adults on ventilators or passing away in their 20s, in their teens. Somebody, don't let everybody be an example for you to get it.
That's true.
And so like our future president electee said, you can save a life 90 some plus percent with just wearing a mask and the right way. So I'm gonna put the screen on you, Carolyn. Show your thing that you showed me today about the proper way to wear the mask.
Okay. We have, well, this was facetious, but it's how not to wear your mask.
Right.
And so there's like 6.
Pull it up, son. There we go. Perfect. Okay.
Different ways. So there's like the earring where it's over just the side of your ear. Or the mustache where you have it under your chin.
Yeah. Yes.
Or the people that even drink, or the people that just cover their nose and not their mouth, or just their mouth or not their nose.
Yeah.
So we believe that, there is some lightheartedness that we can do with this.
Right.
This is a fun way to say to people, don't wear it like this.
Right.
It needs to go over your mouth and your nose. And so we have these posted around our
Mm-hmm.
elevators and on our bulletin board in the lobby.
Girl, now
And
let me tell you, I have been to restaurants and I saw one brother and I told him, I said, let me tell you this. He wore his mask like a beard. The beard is the most famous. I said, really? And he wanted to work in the drive-thru. I said, I think I'm a pass on this purchase today. So I did something, honest to God, I hope it worked. I literally, Carolyn, you're going to believe me. I filled out the survey after I got my order. Because I did purchase order. And I sent the email back and I said, look, you have to be one of the few restaurants that are open, and fast food is always going to be kind of quote unquote essential. But I'm going to need the whole staff to not wear the mask. And I'm going to use it now, the beard. The beard.
The beard, that's what we call it.
Like, what is it protecting? His hair under his chin?
Exactly.
That makes no sense. So let's talk about your building. What is it called? Is it independent living, supportive? Tell us about that, because there are different standards of buildings. Let's talk about that.
We are what used to be called independent living, meaning that we are an apartment building.
Okay.
You rent an apartment, you come and go as you please. We do not provide the supportive services, although you can have the supportive services like doctors and nurses who come in, physical therapists, home health aides, homemakers that come in and help. We have a social service coordinator who provides resources and helps with that. So if you don't have those resources that you should be able to get, then she will help you get them. And so we don't dictate to people who they can have come in and out. I recommend that you limit the number of outside people that you have coming into the building and to your home, with the exception of essential people. If your doctor comes in once a week, of course your doctor should still come in once a week.
Sure.
If your homemaker comes in because they cook for you and they clean for you and they run errands for you, someone should come in. But they have to follow the guidelines of the building. You need to have your mask on. We tell people before I get out of my car, I put my mask on.
All the time, yeah.
Why? Because I know that I will forget between the time I get out of the car, walk to the front door, and then I'll go shoot. So before I get out, I'm putting my mask on.
You know what? I keep mine on my wrist, almost like just as a habit, because I've been like, ooh, almost there, and I had to bag up. But let's talk about this, because we got some time, and I know you're going to break this down, because we had a talk some months ago. Let's talk about the situation with not pointing out anyone, how the family, when the first wave hit, how the family and the property and the ordinance of the city and state all interacted. Because some people said, well, that's mom. You can't do that. Tell us about that experience, would you please?
They do. And so, when we had the lockdown, the shelter in place order, that applied to all of us other than essential workers. My staff are considered essential workers. So we've worked throughout the pandemic. We come and go. So we told residents, you know what? We understand that your family wants to check on you, but we will help them with that. So instead of them coming every day and visiting you, have them give us a call and we'll do a wellness check if they need us to. Have them call you on the phone. Our system here, our door system, requires them to have a phone. If they want to be able to allow people into the building, they have to be called and buzz their visitor in, who then signs in at the security desk and then is allowed to go upstairs. So we had some residents who had family members, whereas the residents understood and probably even communicated it to their family. But we had family members who just were not paying attention. So here they would show up, and they've got the kids and the grandkids in tow from, steps, from 3 and up. And I'm like, first of all, why are these babies out? You know, in the middle of this pandemic, my mother and grandmother got put on. So we just told them, you can't come in the building. I'm sorry. It's dangerous to your mother, to your father.
Right.
I said, we're not just talking about staff. We are talking about them. And we are trying to make sure that we keep them safe.
Yes.
And so, although we couldn't keep them out, we discouraged it the best we could. And we told residents, discourage your family members from visiting. This is not the time. They're worried about if you have food. We have our own bus. We were doing grocery trips for residents. Make your list. We'll pick up the groceries.
Right.
Of course, we've had partners who've been really great about, bringing groceries to us. There are so many giveaways every day.
Yeah.
And here in the 16th Ward, I know you mentioned our Alderman Stephanie Coleman. She's been great. And very good at doing that and having events. And sometimes when we couldn't send residents to the events, I would send staff with our bus.
Yeah.
And they know who we are. We're
That's
representing our building.
Right.
And the last event they had, I think, was over in Ogden Park. And it was a giveaway for grocery bags. And we sent over a representative group of residents thinking, okay, these are the ones that we think are most in need. They were so kind that they filled our bus with enough for the rest of the residents. And I sent over a thank you letter, but I want to give a shout out, and I told them, this was a perfect example of them doing good in the hood.
That's right.
As Stephanie likes to say, doing good in Inglewood in the hood. So it was a great opportunity. But I think it's just the whole idea that we let the families know that we are doing what's best for your mother, for your father, for your grandparent. And that you have to work with us.
Yeah.
It's a struggle sometimes.
Let me say, I had a situation and someone called me. They lost their loved one, not because of COVID, but this was an older woman who lost her daughter who was living in a senior building. And when they called me, they just were going completely ballistic. And I said, excuse me, what I need us to do is have a conversation. First of all, I'm going to do myself a justice because I need you to contact, well, they won't let me in the building. I said, ma'am, we're going to talk. We're going to get some answers. I promise. So what we're going to do is we're going to contact your alderman. That way your alderman can intervene.
Sure.
And more importantly, they know that building. You can express your concerns. And I promise, and I just threw a promise of which I should not have, but I was able to be confident and say, because I called them, they're expecting your call so you can get what you need to do. Because they closed me out my daughter place. I can't get. I said, no, ma'am, I promise you. So I said, if you don't call me back, that means it's been resolved.
Right.
She did not call me back. She emailed me and said, thank you. But there is a procedure. And that's what I want families to understand. You sitting there. I mean, I know you told me sometimes you all had to take shifts, during the real high impact. Now we're in the second wave. And we must always give our prayers and strength to the essential workers in the medical facilities, whatever your capacity is, our servicemen and women across this country. This is affecting everyone. Some people are not getting sleep. They're not going to be home with their loved ones. So what's going to happen? Because, y'all always have a big Thanksgiving to do. I need to know what's going to happen this year.
We are not doing that. We have canceled it because there's just no safe way to do it. Specifically, since look at the COVID numbers, once again, we are rising rapidly, with people who are contracting the virus and having to go into the hospital. The hospitalizations are going up. My daughter is an EMT. And so she is working 14-hour shifts 6 days a week. Because they just have that need to get people to the hospitals or out of the hospitals and back home. And so people have to think about those things, and your story about the building, we look at each situation independently.
Yes, ma'am.
If that family member had called me as the manager, we would have made arrangements for them to be able to get into the unit,
Yeah.
safely, you know. So they can't just say, well, the policy is this and it's hard. Yes, it's the policy, but sometimes you have to make exceptions in
Mm-hmm.
situations. And we do look at each situation separately and independently, but you have
Yeah.
to notify us. I laugh because just yesterday I had a call from HUD, Housing and Urban Development, which is one of our people who oversee what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And they had received a complaint call from a resident who said that management wouldn't allow them to use the community room. So, of course, HUD's not going to tell you who made the call. Well, first of all, I was a little surprised because I hadn't received a call requesting the use, but
Mm-hmm.
we've had our common areas shut down since March.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so when I got the call, I told the representative from HUD, I said, look, I have the population that is considered in danger. I
Mm-hmm.
said, are you aware that we are a senior building and people with disabilities? And he said, oh, no, I wasn't. I said, and we give out all policies in writing. So they were aware of this. Plus, they're posted everywhere on the
Yeah.
elevators, in the lobby,
Yeah.
on the bulletin board in the lobby, on the front door. So I didn't hear anything more from them today other than a note from them saying thank you when I sent the policies to them.
Mm-hmm.
But things like that, which are stressful for staff.
Yeah, but check this out. It's two things I'm gonna say to you. First of all, when we had our event in August, the kickoff for Senior Votes Matter, there was a young lady who I met who I think she sews and she crochets. What is her name?
Oh, yes, Joan Logan.
Joe Loke. She said, look, this my place and Carolyn is my girl. There's nothing that can't happen that Carolyn won't take care of. So that's just my spiel. Miss Joan, thank you very much. So that is her accolade to you.
Thank you.
Second of all, I was sitting in your office one day. I was passing by and you mentioned that there was a guy who wanted to use the workout facility.
Mm-hmm.
But you gave him the proper protocol because some people still want to work out. They want to stretch their bones. So that was a great thing because he had to sign something, or what was that process like? Because he wanted to use a workout facility.
Right. We have exercise bike in the community room, which is closed down. And what he said to me, the case he made was, I usually walk outside around the property. He says, that's how I've been getting my exercise since it's been warm, since the spring. He said, but now it's beginning to be cold. And I really don't want to give that up. He was the only resident who had asked me about this.
Right.
So I said, you know what? I said, you're right. I said, so what we're going to do is I need a schedule for when you want to work out. He says, I do no more than 30 minutes, 3 times a week. I said, give me days and times. I said, and then we will put something in writing that says you agree. What we did was we put sanitizer station next to the bike in there, a garbage, some Clorox wipes. And I said to him, the agreement you and I are going to make is that, number one, there will only be you in the room. We'll lock it behind you. When you're done, we'll let you out and lock it again. And that you agree to wipe the bike down when you come in before you start and wipe it down when you're done. And he agreed. And that's what we did.
How about that?
So, we're looking for solutions. We're not trying to keep people from doing what they like to do, what they need to do within reason. But we're going to do what we have to do for the common good of all of us.
I know that's right. And more importantly, too, this is all of us. We all in, as they say, there's what I do appreciate is that the city of Chicago, I'm currently in Indianapolis. Indianapolis, their slogan is, we're in this together.
That's true.
We're all in. And then Chicago is protect shy or shy protect, something like that. So these ordinances, if you see you can only inhale so much of it because it's a lot of communication.
Oh, absolutely.
But we are asking everyone, follow your local state and city guidelines.
Right.
Read it for your knowledge. Explain it to your children, to the people around you. Thanksgiving is just a few short days away. Do we want to be with our family and loved ones? Absolutely, yes. I personally, I don't know if I'm making it back to Chicago. My husband and I, we said we may just do us and hope my dad will get on Facebook or on Facebook.
Right.
I mean, this is just where we are right now. And
That
so I'm just suggesting to everyone, please follow the measures because it's going to save our lives. Like they say in church, it won't always be this way.
Right.
But until
That's true.
we got to do what we have to do.
Yes.
And being safe and being able to communicate, i.e. via sign language or whatever it is, we're going to find a way. But there are so many communication tools. If you think about it now, you can write a letter to your mom or dad or auntie. You got the address. Put something in the mail. The mail is still moving. There's some kind of communication. Happy Thanksgiving. Maybe we need to start writing communication. Happy Thanksgiving. Miss you this year, whatever. But please do something. And as I said, we're going to institute. I'm going to talk to Carolyn after this broadcast. We got a couple other people going to join us. We got to do this mandatory well-being check. And I'm going to ask people to post your pictures. If you called somebody or whoever that is, say who and what state it was. We want to make this a nationwide phenomenon. And not a phenomenon, but a nationwide stance because older Americans, they living longer. What's the oldest resident in your building? Or we call the youngest one?
The youngest one is 96.
96. See what I'm saying?
96.
We living longer.
Living longer.
We're getting better with age. And so we have to be mindful of that. So Carolyn, I'm sorry, we did really good. You were phenomenal. Thank you for being as transparent as possible so that everybody understands what's happening. But we have one. What is your closing remark for us today?
My closing remark is that I want everyone to work together to be safe and do the 3 W's. You know what the 3 W's are, right?
No,
wear a mask at all times in common areas.
Yes, ma'am.
You are not by yourself. The second W is watch your distance and stay 6 feet away and wash your hands regularly.
All right.
3 W's.
I got
and when I see my staff, I say, what's the 3 W's? And when I see my residents, I'm like, what's the 3 W's?
You know what? We're going to kick that up. I'm going to try that. I'm going to put that as a survey out there, a question. Thank you to our loyal watchers, Watika Klein, Peter, and Tony Warren. We love you. We love you. And for those who are watching on Facebook and YouTube, don't forget this will also play on our sister station, WOSD Radio, on Sunday. So you can ask Alexa at 10 a.m. on Sunday to play WOSD Radio, and you'll be listening to Senior Talk live with Carolyn Stewart of Bethel, Terrace, and Sangamon Terrace Apartments. God bless you all. Thank you for your time. Their information is on our website, Senior Talk Media. And until next time, be good to yourself, and remember to wear your mask, watch your distance, and wash your hands.
2 W's.